The silence of space was broken when the first alien ship appeared at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. The skies darkened, as if the planet itself could feel the weight of the approaching danger. No one had expected this day to come, but now, as the ships descended, Earth was faced with a threat like no other. The alien fleet came in waves, vast and terrifying. Dozens, then hundreds of ships, each larger than the tallest mountains on Earth, dropped out of the stars. Their designs were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Some ships had strange, spiked shapes, others seemed to shimmer with a metallic blue glow, and all of them moved with a chilling precision. They weren't here for trade, peace talks, or curiosity. They were here for war. The world's leaders scrambled to respond. They had heard whispers of alien life, of strange signals in deep space, but never had they imagined such a colossal fleet would target Earth. The United Nations quickly called an emergency session, and all military forces were put on high alert. The President of the United States, Karen Hayes, stood before the Global Council, her face grave. "We don't know who they are or what they want, but we cannot wait any longer. Our defenses are not ready. This will be our most difficult fight," she said, her voice strong yet filled with uncertainty. Around the world, the panic was palpable. In every city, people rushed to find safety, filling bunkers and shelters as they watched the alien ships approach on their screens. On military bases, soldiers prepared for the worst. The air was thick with fear. Back at the United Nations, a debate raged on. Some wanted to launch an immediate attack, to fire at the invaders before they could even make contact. Others argued that a direct strike could provoke a war they could not win. But amid the chaos, there was one man who remained calm. Admiral Eric Hawke, a decorated officer with a reputation for thinking outside the box, had seen the patterns of war his whole life. He stepped forward, pushing aside his own doubts, and presented an idea. "We don't have the numbers to fight them head-on," Hawke began. "But there is one thing we have that they might not expect. Humanity's greatest strength, our will. We send only one ship, one vessel, strong, fast, and well-equipped to strike them when they least expect it." There was a long silence in the room. The idea seemed mad. The alien armada was huge, vastly superior to any military force Earth had ever seen. Sending one ship, it felt impossible. But Hawke's words hung in the air, an idea that sparked something in the room. "I'll lead it," Admiral Hawke said, looking around the room. "We have a ship, a new Dreadnought, the Resolute. It's the most advanced warship we've ever built, and it could be the key to our survival." The idea of sending a single ship to face a fleet of alien invaders was risky. It could be humanity's greatest act of desperation, or it could be their greatest triumph. The leaders of the world knew that they had no other choice. Meanwhile, across the world, a team of scientists and engineers were hard at work, making final preparations for the Resolute. This ship had been designed in secrecy, a product of years of research into advanced energy weapons, shields, and human ingenuity. It was Earth's last line of defense. The crew had been selected for their skill and bravery, a mix of veterans and fresh faces eager to prove themselves. Commander Lisa Carter, a seasoned officer with an understanding of alien technology, was one of the first to be called to duty. She had worked on research for the new energy-based weapons that would arm the Resolute. Now she was tasked with ensuring the ship was ready for battle. "We have one shot at this," she thought as she paced through the control room, overseeing the final checks. "If we fail, it will be over for us all." Alongside her was Lieutenant Jacob Fields, a young pilot with great potential. He had spent most of his career flying transport ships, but now he would face something far more dangerous. He would be piloting the Resolute into battle. He had no experience in space combat, but his confidence was unwavering. "I may be new to this," Jake said as he met Lisa in the corridor, "but I'll do whatever it takes. We can win this." Lisa gave him a small, encouraging smile. "We all have our roles to play. You just focus on flying, and I'll focus on keeping us alive." In the days leading up to the launch, the crew went through intense training. They ran simulations, practiced maneuvers, and learned everything they could about the enemy. The aliens had technology that was far beyond anything Earth had, and every person on the Resolute knew they had to be prepared for the unknown. Admiral Hawke remained in constant communication with world leaders, ensuring that Earth's defenses were ready. But as the days passed, the alien armada loomed ever closer. The world held its breath, knowing that the fate of humanity rested on the success of this mission. One morning, as the countdown to launch approached, Lisa found herself standing in front of the ship's main viewport, staring out at the stars. The Dreadnought sat on its launch pad, ready for battle. It was a magnificent sight, sleek and powerful, designed to withstand the harshest of space conditions. Yet, as Lisa looked at the alien ships on their approach, she knew it wasn't the ship's design that would win the war. It would be the people inside. The decision was made. The Resolute would leave Earth's atmosphere and head into the heart of the alien fleet. There was no turning back now. "All systems are go," came the voice over the intercom. Admiral Hawk stood beside the launch console, his face set in determination. "It's time." And so, with that simple command, the Resolute began its journey into the unknown. The crew felt the vibration of the engines as the ship lifted off, breaking free from Earth's gravity. The stars ahead seemed brighter now, almost as if they were guiding them toward their destiny. They had one shot to make history. The alien Armada, still on its way to Earth, was waiting for them. But they had no idea what was coming. They had underestimated humanity's strength, and now they would learn just how dangerous the human spirit could be. As the Resolute ascended toward the heavens, Lisa looked out the viewport one last time. "We'll show them what humanity can do," she whispered, knowing that the fight for Earth's future had just begun. The cold void of space stretched out before the Resolute, and yet, for the crew, the reality of what was to come weighed heavy on their hearts. They had only just launched, but the battle had already begun. Earth's fate rested on their shoulders, and the alien Armada was not far behind. Inside the command deck of the Resolute, the crew worked tirelessly. The ship was a marvel of human engineering, but even the best technology couldn't guarantee victory. They needed every ounce of skill and courage to make it through the fight ahead. Admiral Eric Hawk paced the control room, his mind running over the plans again and again, as if searching for something he had missed. Lisa Carter stood nearby, monitoring the ship's systems. She was the one who knew the most about the alien technology and how to counter it. She had studied the enemy's weapons and defenses in great detail, but even she could not fully predict what they would face. The unknown factor loomed large, and every new piece of information she gathered felt like a small victory. "I still don't understand how they can move like that," Lisa said to Jake, who was seated at the pilot's console. He looked up from his station, where he had been running flight simulations for the upcoming battle. His hands hovered over the controls, but his mind was elsewhere, lost in thought. "You mean the alien ships?" Jake asked. "They don't seem to follow any normal pattern. One moment they're there, and the next they're gone." "It's like they know exactly what we're going to do before we do it," Lisa nodded. "Exactly. We've studied their movements, their weapons, their ships, but nothing we've seen matches the way they think. If we're going to win, we need to be ready for anything." Admiral Hawk's voice broke through the tension. "All right, team, we've trained for months, but now it's time to put everything we've learned into action. We can't afford to make mistakes. The enemy may be bigger, but we have something they don't: our ingenuity." Jake looked over at Lisa. "You think we can outsmart them?" She didn't hesitate. "We have to." The ship's engines hummed as the Resolute sped further into space. The plan was simple: approach the alien fleet, find a weakness, and strike before they could respond. But there were dangers they could not predict. The alien ships had advanced shields, powerful energy weapons, and speeds that far surpassed anything Earth had. They would have to rely on their training and the ship's unique capabilities to stand a chance. As the crew prepared for the unknown, they fell into a steady rhythm. Lisa worked with the tech team to make final adjustments to the ship's weapons and shields. They were testing the experimental energy cannons that could cut through almost anything, but no one knew how they would fare against the alien ships. Jake was busy running drills with the rest of the crew, testing the ship's agility. The Resolute was large, but it was also fast for its size. Jake's job would be to fly the ship in ways the aliens would never expect, to stay one step ahead and give the crew the chance they needed to strike. The crew was tired. The pressure was starting to show on some faces, but they refused to let fear take hold. They knew what was at stake. They had all signed up for this, not just to defend Earth, but to prove that humanity could stand up to any force, no matter how powerful. Later, as the ship neared the outskirts of the alien fleet, a sense of urgency filled the air. They had no time to waste. Every minute that passed brought them closer to the enemy. Admiral Hawk stood with Lisa in the observation room, looking out at the stars. The alien fleet was vast. Even from this distance, the sight of it was overwhelming. Hundreds of ships, their dark, jagged forms cutting through the cold vacuum of space, seemed to swallow the light around them. "We've never faced anything like this before," Hawk said quietly, his voice betraying a moment of doubt. "But we can't turn back. We're in this together, and I believe in each one of you." Lisa nodded, her face hard with determination. "We won't fail. We have the best chance we're ever going to get." As the hours passed, the crew gathered in the war room for a final briefing. The plan had been reviewed, reworked, and rehearsed countless times, but now it was time to act. The reality was setting in, and there was no turning back. "We'll divide into teams," Admiral Hawk began. "Commander Carter, you'll be in charge of coordinating the ship's defensive systems. We're counting on you to keep the shields up and make sure the alien weapons don't breach the hull." Lisa nodded. She was no stranger to pressure, but this was different. This was more than just a mission, it was survival. "Lieutenant Fields," Hawk continued, "you're our pilot. You've trained for this, and I trust you to fly the Resolute through whatever the aliens throw at us. Speed, agility, and unpredictability. You'll be the key to our success." Jake's hands tightened around the edge of the table, but he met the Admiral's gaze with determination. "I won't let you down, sir." "Good," Hawk said. "And everyone else, your roles are crucial too. We'll need all hands on deck when the time comes. Remember, this isn't just a battle for Earth, it's a fight for the survival of our species." The crew nodded in unison. They knew what they had to do. It wasn't just about victory, it was about proving that humanity had the strength to endure no matter the odds. With the briefing complete, the crew dispersed, each member returning to their station. There was no time to waste. The alien fleet was closing in, and the battle for Earth's survival was about to begin. Hours later, as the first alien ships began to move into attack positions, the crew of the Resolute prepared for the worst. They were ready, or as ready as they could be. But nothing could truly prepare them for what they would face in the coming moments. Jake gripped the controls tightly, staring out at the stars. He couldn't let his nerves take over. This was the moment he had trained for. This was where the real battle began. Lisa sat at her console, reviewing the final scans of the alien fleet. The readings were unsettling. The ships were more advanced than anything they had seen in their simulations. Some of the ships were equipped with energy fields that could withstand direct hits from the Resolute's weapons, but they didn't know how long those shields would last. "Admiral, I think it's time," Lisa said, her voice steady but firm. "Prepare the crew for battle," Admiral Hawk replied. "This is it, we're going in." The Resolute moved forward, cutting through space toward the alien fleet. The tension was unbearable, but the crew remained focused. Every eye was on the task ahead. Every second that passed brought them closer to the inevitable clash. As they neared the enemy, Jake's hands flew over the controls, guiding the ship with precise movements. The alien ships began to align, and then, without warning, the first wave of enemy fire came hurtling toward them. Plasma blasts rained down from the alien fleet, but the Resolute's shields held firm. "We're not going to make it through this unless we stay unpredictable," Jake said, his voice tense. Lisa quickly analyzed the alien weapon patterns. "I see it. They're targeting our engines. We'll have to lead them into a trap, keep them chasing us, and we'll find our opening." Admiral Hawk watched the battle unfold from the control room. The fight had begun. The Resolute was now in the heart of the enemy fleet, with every ship focused on one target. But Earth's last hope had already made its mark. The aliens would soon realize that humanity would not be so easily defeated. The battle for survival had begun. The tension on the Resolute was nearly unbearable as the ship raced toward the heart of the alien Armada. Every crew member felt it, the pressure, the weight of the responsibility. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, but they had no time for fear. They had trained for this moment, and now they would put everything they had learned to the test. Jake's hands gripped the controls tightly as he guided the ship through the vast emptiness of space. The alien fleet loomed ahead, a dark and menacing wall of ships. Some were sleek and fast, others were massive and heavy, designed for destruction. The closest alien ship was already locking onto the Resolute, preparing to fire. Jake didn't hesitate. He pushed the throttle forward, sending the ship into a sharp dive, narrowly avoiding the plasma beams that shot toward them. The crew braced themselves as the ship rocked with the impact of near misses. "Steady, Jake. We need to stay ahead of them." Lisa's voice came over the comms, calm and focused. Jake nodded, though he knew the real test was only beginning. He twisted the controls, making the Resolute twist and roll, dodging fire from the enemy ships. The alien weapons were powerful, but their aim wasn't perfect. The ship's speed and agility were their greatest advantage. Behind him, Lisa was busy monitoring the energy levels of the ship's systems. She was analyzing the alien weapons, trying to figure out their weaknesses. "Their plasma beams have a delay," she said. "They take a moment to recharge. We need to use that to our advantage." Jake's eyes narrowed as he weaved through the hail of plasma blasts. He had to be faster than they were. "Got it. I'll keep them on their toes." The first few minutes felt like an eternity. Alien ships were everywhere, moving in perfect formation, their weapons firing relentlessly. But the crew of the Resolute was not intimidated. They fought back with everything they had. "Opening fire," Lisa said, her voice steady as she activated the ship's advanced energy cannons. Bright blue beams shot from the ship's weapons, striking one of the alien ships directly. The explosion was deafening, a violent burst of light that momentarily blinded them. "We've got their attention now," Admiral Hawk said from the command center. "Keep up the pressure, but don't engage head-on. We can't afford to lose our advantage." The battle was unfolding in real time, each decision crucial. Jake's focus was unwavering. He expertly guided the ship through tight turns, using the debris from destroyed alien ships to shield the Resolute from incoming fire. The alien Armada was closing in, but the Resolute was like a shadow, darting in and out of their line of sight. Lisa kept her eyes on the readings. "Jake, we're too close to their main force. We need to break through their outer ranks first." Jake's jaw tightened, and he pulled the controls hard to the right, sending the Resolute into a sudden, sharp turn. The alien ships behind them followed, but the Dreadnought was faster. It darted forward, narrowly escaping a barrage of plasma fire and sliced through the alien lines. But as they pushed forward, a new threat appeared. From the darkness of space, a much larger ship emerged, an alien flagship. Its size was unlike anything they had seen before. It was covered in dark, jagged armor, and its surface was dotted with what looked like massive energy cannons. This ship was the heart of the Armada, and if it fell, the entire fleet would be thrown into disarray. "That's their flagship," Lisa said, a hint of worry in her voice. "We need to destroy it if we want to stand a chance." Admiral Hawk's voice came over the intercom. "We can't take it head-on, not yet. Let's break through their defenses first." But breaking through wasn't going to be easy. The alien ships were regrouping, and more were coming from the depths of space, surrounding them on all sides. The battle had escalated, and the odds were stacking up against them. Jake could see the enemy ships closing in from every direction. He had to think fast. He swerved the ship again, narrowly dodging an incoming missile that exploded in a bright flash behind them. The shockwave rocked the Resolute, but the ship held steady. "Keep moving, Jake," Lisa urged. "We need to find their weak spot, something we can exploit." Jake scanned the enemy ships, looking for an opening. The flagship was protected by dozens of smaller ships, but he could see a gap forming as some of the aliens were moving to engage the Resolute. It was risky, but it was their only chance. "We're going for the gap," Jake said, determination in his voice. "Hold on." He punched the controls, and the ship surged forward, diving straight toward the heart of the alien formation. The crew braced themselves as the ship's shields absorbed the barrage of incoming fire. Jake twisted the controls, sending the Dreadnought into a series of erratic movements, dodging plasma blasts as they raced closer to the flagship. "Firing weapons," Lisa said, her voice steady. She activated the Resolute's energy cannons once more, sending blasts of blue light toward the smaller alien ships blocking their path. One of the ships exploded in a flash of light, but the flagship loomed ever closer, its massive energy cannons charging up. "Jake, pull up." "We're too close," Lisa shouted. Jake pulled hard on the controls, sending the Resolute into a steep climb. The ship veered upward, narrowly avoiding the deadly energy beams from the flagship. But the maneuver threw them off course, and now the alien ships were closing in from all directions. "We've got to break their formation, or we'll be overwhelmed," Admiral Hawk said, his voice filled with urgency. "Jake, take us in fast." "Lisa, get ready to fire everything we've got." Jake nodded, his hands steady on the controls. "Here goes nothing." He thrust the ship forward again, this time at full speed, weaving between the alien ships. The weapons on the Resolute were firing continuously, cutting down enemy ships in their path, but the flagship was still there, its weapons charging for the next strike. Then, the worst happened. A massive alien warship appeared from behind, cutting off their escape route. The Dreadnought was now surrounded, and every possible route out was blocked. The alien fleet was closing in, and it seemed like there was no way to escape. "We're trapped!" Jake shouted, his voice rising in panic, but Lisa wasn't giving up. "There's one more option," she said, her voice calm. "We'll need to engage their defenses head-on." "What?" Jake said, looking at her in disbelief. "They've underestimated us. They think we'll be easy to crush," Lisa said, her eyes narrowing. "We'll force them to react to us to get them off balance. It's a long shot, but it's the only way we can survive." Jake swallowed hard. "You're crazy, but let's do it." With a deep breath, he pushed the Resolute into a risky maneuver, shooting directly toward the flagship. The alien ships fired everything they had, but the Dreadnought's shields held strong. Jake's hands moved with precision, guiding the ship into an impossible turn, forcing the alien ships to split and give the Resolute a brief moment to slip through. Lisa fired the energy cannons once more, and this time, one of the alien ships exploded in a burst of light, clearing a path straight toward the flagship. Jake gunned the engines, pushing the ship forward with everything they had. The alien fleet seemed to hesitate for a moment, not expecting such a bold move. "Now!" Lisa shouted. Jake didn't wait. He aimed straight for the heart of the flagship where its energy core was exposed. The ship's weapons fired one last time, and the Resolute raced toward their target. They were going to strike. They had no other choice. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, it seemed like there might be hope. The tension on the Resolute was now at a breaking point. The crew had fought with everything they had, but they were still in the heart of the alien Armada. They had managed to break through the outer ranks, but the flagship loomed ahead, powerful and menacing. The alien fleet was regrouping, and there was no way to avoid a final confrontation. Jake's hands were slick with sweat as he gripped the controls, guiding the ship through the dense cluster of alien ships. The ship rocked with each near miss, and the shields flickered as another round of plasma fire hit their defenses. Despite the constant barrage, the Resolute pressed on, its crew determined to fight until the end. "We can't keep this up forever," Lisa said, her voice steady but tense as she worked the weapon's controls. "Their firepower is overwhelming, and our shields are taking too much damage." Admiral Hawk stood in the command center, his eyes locked on the view of the battle outside. The alien flagship was now in full view, its massive guns charging with a deadly glow. "We need to hit that flagship. If we don't take it out, we won't survive this." Lisa's eyes flickered to the ship's scanners. "There's a weakness," she said, a spark of hope in her voice. "The flagship has a weak spot. Its energy core is exposed. If we can hit it with a direct shot, we could disable it." Jake didn't hesitate. "Then let's do it." The plan was risky, foolish, even. The flagship was heavily defended, and they would be flying straight into the heart of the enemy forces, but there was no time to waste. They had to act now or face certain destruction. "Jake, take us in fast," Admiral Hawk ordered. "We don't have long before their fleet surrounds us. Lisa, get the energy cannons ready." The crew moved with precision, each of them knowing their role in the final assault. Lisa worked quickly, rerouting power to the ship's weapons. The energy cannons hummed with power, their blue glow illuminating the dark expanse of space. Jake gritted his teeth and pushed the ship forward. The Resolute accelerated toward the flagship, weaving between alien ships. The alien fleet was closing in, but Jake's focus never wavered. He knew the odds were slim, but this was their only chance. The flagship's massive weapons began to charge up, ready to fire. The crew braced themselves, knowing the next few moments would decide their fate. "Steady, Jake, we need to be precise," Lisa said, her voice calm but filled with urgency. The alien ships around them moved in, their weapons firing in a relentless barrage. Jake swerved, narrowly avoiding another blast. The ship shuddered, but it held together. The gap to the flagship was getting smaller, and Jake pushed the engines harder, determined to make it through. They were almost there. Lisa kept her eyes on the scanners. "We're in range. Prepare to fire," she said, her voice firm. Jake locked onto the flagship's exposed energy core, his hands steady on the controls. The alien ships around them continued to fire, but the Resolute was moving too fast. Jake pushed the ship even harder, bringing it into the perfect position. "Now!" Lisa shouted. Jake pressed the firing control, and the Resolute's energy cannons blazed to life. A beam of brilliant blue light shot from the ship's weapons, striking the flagship's energy core directly. The impact was immediate. The flagship's outer defenses flared, and a shockwave rippled through the enemy fleet. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The alien flagship was visibly damaged, its shields flickering as its energy core destabilized. The ship's guns stopped charging, and the surrounding alien ships hesitated, unsure of what to do next. "We did it!" Jake shouted, a sense of triumph in his voice, but the victory was short-lived. The alien fleet, still vast and deadly, quickly regrouped. The flagship had taken a hit, but it wasn't destroyed, not yet, and now the remaining alien ships were coming for the Resolute in full force. "We're not out of this yet," Lisa said, her tone serious. "They're coming for us. We need to finish what we started." Admiral Hawk's voice cut through the chaos. "All crew members prepare for a final push. We'll give everything we have to finish off the flagship. This is our chance." The Resolute's crew worked quickly, rerouting power to the remaining weapons. The damage to the ship was significant, but they were far from finished. Lisa's hands moved swiftly, adjusting the targeting systems to ensure the next shot would land exactly where it was needed. "We have one more shot," she said. "If we can hit the core again, we'll destroy it for good." Jake nodded, eyes narrowed in concentration. "We don't have long. I'll keep them off us for as long as I can." He pulled the controls hard, sending the Resolute into a wild turn. The ship darted around alien ships, evading their weapons while staying in range of the flagship. The alien fleet was closing in, but Jake's skillful piloting kept them just ahead of the danger. As the crew prepared for another shot, a sudden voice crackled through the comms. It was a voice they hadn't heard before, one that sent a chill through their bones. "Humans, you are brave," the voice said, cold and mechanical. "But your resistance is futile. You will die here alone." It was the voice of the alien commander, Vrax. Lisa's eyes narrowed as she listened to the message. "He's taunting us. He thinks we're beaten." "We're not beaten," Admiral Hawk said, his voice firm. "We have one shot left, and we're going to take it." The flagship was vulnerable, but the remaining alien ships were closing in fast. The Resolute was running out of time. Jake pushed the ship even harder, weaving through the alien fleet as the flagship came into view once again. "We're almost there," Lisa said, her voice tight with focus. "Get us in position, Jake." Jake didn't need any more instructions. He was already guiding the Resolute toward the flagship, his hands moving quickly and precisely as he avoided a deadly barrage of enemy fire. The flagship's energy core was exposed again, and Jake aimed straight for it. "Ready to fire," Lisa said, her voice steady as she prepared the energy cannons. "On your mark." "Now," Jake shouted. The Resolute fired once more, the blue beam streaking through space. This time, the energy core of the flagship couldn't take the blast. There was a deafening explosion, and the flagship's entire structure seemed to shake. The remaining alien ships scattered as the core detonated, sending a shockwave through their ranks. The flagship was gone. But the battle was far from over. The remaining alien ships, though thrown into disarray, quickly regrouped. They were still a threat, one that would not go down easily. "We've done it," Lisa said quietly, watching the destruction unfold. "The flagship is down." But the alien fleet was still a force to be reckoned with, and the crew of the Resolute knew that the hardest part was still to come. They had dealt a massive blow to the invaders, but the war was not over yet. The crew prepared for the next phase of the battle, knowing that their survival was still uncertain. The loss of the flagship was a victory, but the enemy still outnumbered them, and every move had to be calculated with precision. "We've hurt them," Admiral Hawk said, "but now we finish this." The crew of the Resolute steadied themselves for the final push. It wasn't over yet. There was still a long way to go, but in their hearts they knew they were stronger than ever. And as long as they had breath in their lungs, they would fight. The aliens deployed an armada. Humanity sent just one Dreadnought.